Chapter 17 Aaron's walking stick blooms and produces almonds. The Lord told Moses, "Call together the 12 tribes of Israel and tell the leader of each tribe to write his name on the walking stick he carries as a symbol of his authority. Make sure Aaron's name is written on the one from the Levi tribe. Then collect all the sticks. Place these sticks in the tent in front of the sacred chest where I appear to you. I will then choose a man to be my priest, and his stick will sprout. After that happens, I won't have to listen to any more complaints about you." Moses told the people what the Lord had commanded, and they gave him the walking sticks from the 12 tribal leaders, including Aaron's from the Levi tribe. Moses took them and placed them in the Lord's sacred tent. The next day, when Moses went into the tent, flowers and almonds were already growing on Aaron's stick. Moses brought the 12 sticks out of the tent and showed them to the people. Each of the leaders found his own and took it. But the Lord told Moses, "Put Aaron's stick back. Let it stay near the sacred chest as a warning to anyone who might think about rebelling. If these people don't stop their grumbling about me, I will wipe them out." Moses did what he was told. The Israelites cried out to Moses, "We are done for and doomed if we even get near the sacred tent." Priests and Levites. Chapter 18 The duties of the priests and Levites. The Lord said to Aaron, "You, your sons, and the other Levites of the Kohath clan, are responsible for what happens at the sacred tent, and you and your sons will be responsible for what the priests do. The Levites are your relatives and are here to help you in your service at the tent. You must see that they perform their duties, but if they go near any of the sacred objects or the altar, all of you will die. No one else is allowed to take care of the sacred tent or to do anything connected with it. Follow these instructions so I won't become angry and punish the Israelites ever again. I alone chose the Levites from all the other tribes to belong to me, and I have given them to you as your helpers. But only you and your sons can serve as priests at the altar and in the most holy place. Your work as priests is a gift from me, and anyone else who tries to do that work must be put to death." The priest's share of offerings given to the Lord. This is also told in Deuteronomy 18:1-8. The Lord said to Aaron, "I have put you in charge of the sacred gifts and sacrifices that the Israelites bring to me. And from now on, you, your sons, and your descendants will receive part of the sacrifices for sin, as well as part of the grain sacrifices and the sacrifices to make things right. Your share of these sacrifices will be the part not burnt on the altar. Since these things are sacred, they must be eaten near the sacred tent, but only men are allowed to eat them. You will also receive part of the special gifts and offerings that the Israelites bring to me. Any member of your family who is clean and acceptable for worship can eat these things. For example, when the Israelites bring me the first batches of oil, wine, and grain, you can have the best part of those gifts. And the first part of the crops from their fields and vineyards also belongs to you. The people will offer this to me, then anyone in your family who is clean may have some of it. Everything in Israel that has been completely dedicated to me will now belong to you. The firstborn son in every Israelite family, as well as the firstborn males of their flocks and herds, belong to me. But a firstborn son and every firstborn donkey must be bought back from me. The price for a firstborn son who is at least 1 month old will be 5 pieces of silver, weighed according to the official standards. However, all firstborn cattle, sheep, and goats belong to me and cannot be bought back. Splatter their blood on the altar and send their fat up in smoke, so I can smell it and be pleased. You are allowed to eat the meat of those animals just as you can eat the choice ribs and the right hind leg of the special sacrifices. From now on, the sacred offerings that the Israelites give to me will belong to you, your sons, and your daughters. This is my promise to you and your descendants, and it will never change. You will not receive any land in Israel as your own. I am the Lord, and I will give you whatever you need. What the Levites receive. The Lord said to Aaron, 10% of the Israelites' crops and 1 out of every 10 of their newborn animals belong to me. But I am giving all this to the Levites as their pay for the work they do at the sacred tent. They are the only ones allowed to work at the tent, and they must not let anyone else come near it. Those who do must be put to death, and the Levites will also be punished. This law will never change, since the Levites won't be given any land in Israel as their own. They will be given the crops and newborn animals that the Israelites offer to me. What the Levites must give. The Lord told Moses to say to the Levites, when you receive from the people of Israel 10% of their crops and newborn animals, you must offer a tenth of that to me. Just as the Israelites give me part of their grain and wine, you must set aside part of what you receive as an offering to me. That amount must then be given to Aaron, so the best of what you receive will be mine. After you have dedicated the best part to me, you can eat the rest, just as the Israelites eat part of their grain and wine after offering them to me. Your share may be eaten anywhere by anyone in your family, because it is your pay for working at the sacred tent. You won't be punished for eating it, as long as you have already offered the best parts to me. The gifts and sacrifices brought by the people must remain sacred. And if you eat any part of them before you are offered to me, you will be put to death. Becoming clean. Chapter 19. The ceremony to wash away sin. The Lord gave Moses and Aaron the following law. The people of Israel must bring Moses a reddish-brown cow that has nothing wrong with it and that has never been used for plowing. Moses will give it to Eleazar the priest. Then it will be led outside the camp and killed while Eleazar watches. He will dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle it 7 times in the direction of the sacred tent. Then the whole cow, including its skin, meat, blood, and insides, must be burnt. A priest is to throw a stick of cedar wood, a hyssop branch, and a piece of red yarn into the fire. After the ceremony, the priest is to take a bath and wash his clothes. Only then can he go back into the camp, but he remains unclean and unfit for worship until evening. The man who burnt the cow must also wash his clothes and take a bath, but he is also unclean until evening. A man who isn't unclean must collect the ashes of the burnt cow and store them outside the camp in a clean place. The people of Israel can mix these ashes with the water used in the ceremony to wash away sin. The man who collects the ashes must wash his clothes, but will remain unclean until evening. This law must always be obeyed by the people of Israel and the foreigners living among them. What must be done after touching a dead body? The Lord said, if you touch a dead body, you will be unclean for 7 days. But if you wash with the water mixed with the cow's ashes on the 3rd day and again on the 7th day, you will be clean and acceptable for worship. You must wash yourself on those days. If you don't, you will remain unclean. Suppose you touch a dead body, but refuse to be made clean by washing with the water mixed with ashes. You will be guilty of making my sacred tent unclean and will no longer belong to the people of Israel. If someone dies in a tent while you are there, you will be unclean for 7 days, and anyone who later enters the tent will also be unclean. Any open jar in the tent is unclean. If you touch the body of someone who was killed or who died of old age, or if you touch a human bone or a grave, you will be unclean for 7 days. Before you can be made clean, someone who is clean must take some of the ashes from the burnt cow and stir them into a pot of spring water. That same person must dip a hyssop branch in the water and ashes. Then sprinkle it on the tent and everything in it, including everyone who was inside. If you have touched a human bone, a grave, or a dead body, you must be sprinkled with that water. If this is done on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, you will be clean. Then after you take a bath and wash your clothes, you can worship that evening. If you are unclean and refuse to be made clean by washing with the water mixed with ashes, you will be guilty of making my sacred tent unclean, and you will no longer belong to the people of Israel. These laws will never change. The man who sprinkled the water and the ashes on you when you were unclean must also wash his clothes, and whoever touches this water is unclean until evening. When you are unclean, everything you touch becomes unclean, and anyone who touches you will be unclean until evening. On the way to Moab, chapter 20, water from a rock. This is also told in Exodus 17, 1-7. The people of Israel arrived at the Zin Desert during the 1st month and set up camp near the town of Kadesh. It was there that Miriam died and was buried. The Israelites had no water, so they went to Moses and Aaron and complained. Moses, we'd be better off if we had died along with the others in front of the Lord's sacred tent. You brought us into this desert, and now we and our livestock are going to die. Egypt was better than this horrible place. At least there we had grain and figs and grapevines and pomegranates. But now we don't even have any water. Moses and Aaron went to the entrance to the sacred tent, where they bowed down. The Lord appeared to them in all his glory and said, Moses, get your walking stick. Then you and Aaron called the people together and commanded that rock to give you water. That's how you will provide water for the people of Israel and their livestock. Moses obeyed and took his stick from the sacred tent. After he and Aaron had gathered the people around the rock, he said, Look, you rebellious people, and you will see water flow from this rock. He raised his stick in the air and struck the rock 2 times. At once, water gushed from the rock, and the people and their livestock had water to drink. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Because you refused to believe in my power, these people did not respect me. And so you will not be the ones to lead them into the land I have promised. The Israelites had complained against the Lord, and he had shown them his holy power by giving them water to drink. So they named the place Meribah, which means complaining. Israel isn't allowed to go through Edom. Moses sent messengers from Israel's camp near Kadesh with his message for the king of Edom. We are Israelites, your own relatives, and we are sure you have heard the terrible things that had happened to us. Our ancestors settled in Egypt and lived there a long time, but later the Egyptians were cruel to us. And when we begged our Lord for help, he answered our prayer and brought us out of that land. Now we are camped at the border of your territory, near the town of Kadesh. Please let us go through your country. We won't go near your fields and vineyards and We won't drink any water from your wells. We will stay on the main road until we leave your territory." But the Edomite king answered, "No, I won't let you go through our country, and if you try, we will attack you." Moses sent back this message: "We promise to stay on the main road, and if any of us or our livestock drink your water, we will pay for it. We just want to pass through." But the Edomite king insisted, "You can't go through our land." Then Edom sent out its strongest troops to keep Israel from passing through its territory. So the Israelites had to go in another direction. Aaron dies. After the Israelites had left Kadesh and had gone as far as Mount Hor on the Edomite border, the Lord said, "Aaron, this is where you will die. You and Moses disobeyed me at Meribah, and so you will not enter the land I promised the Israelites." Moses, "Go with Aaron and his son Eleazar to the top of the mountain. Then take Aaron's priestly robe from him and place it on Eleazar. Aaron will die there." Moses obeyed, and everyone watched as he and Aaron and Eleazar walked to the top of Mount Hor. Moses then took the priestly robe from Aaron and placed it on Eleazar. Aaron died there. When Moses and Eleazar came down, the people knew that Aaron had died, and they mourned his death for 30 days. Chapter 21. Israel defeats the Canaanites at Hormah. The Canaanite king of Arad lived in the southern desert of Canaan. And when he heard that the Israelites were on their way to the village of Atharim, he attacked and took some of them hostage. The Israelites prayed, "Our Lord, if you will help us defeat these Canaanites, we will completely destroy their towns and everything in them, to show that they belong to you." The Lord answered their prayer and helped them wipe out the Canaanite army and completely destroy their towns. That's why one of the towns is named Hormah, which means destroyed place. Moses makes a bronze snake. The Israelites had to go around the territory of Edom, so when they left Mount Hor, they headed south towards the Red Sea. But along the way, the people became so impatient that they complained against God and said to Moses, "Did you bring us out of Egypt just to let us die in the desert? There's no water out here, and we can't stand this awful food." Then the Lord sent poisonous snakes that bit and killed many of them. Some of the people went to Moses and admitted, "It was wrong of us to insult you and the Lord. Now please ask him to make these snakes to go away." Moses prayed, and the Lord answered, "Make a snake out of bronze and place it on the top of a pole. Anyone who gets bitten can look at the snake and won't die." Moses obeyed the Lord, and all of those who looked at the bronze snake lived, even though they had been bitten by the poisonous snakes. Israel's journey to Moab. As the Israelites continued their journey to Canaan, they camped at Oboth, then at Lai-Abarim in the desert east of Moab, and then in the Jared Gorge. After that, they crossed the gorge of the river Arnon and camped in the Moabite desert bordering Amorite territory. The Arnon was the border between the Moabites and the Amorites. A song in the book of the Lord's battles mentions the town of Waheb with its creeks in the territory of Suphah. It also mentions the river Arnon with its valleys that lie beside the Moabite border and extend to the town of Ar. From the Arnon, the Israelites went to the well near the town of Beer, where the Lord had said to Moses, "Call the people together, and I will give them water to drink." That's also the same well the Israelites sang about in this song. Let's celebrate the well has given us water with their royal scepters Our leaders pointed out where to dig the well. The Israelites left the desert and camped near the town of Matana, then at Nahaliel, and then at Bamoth. Finally, they reached Moabite territory where they camped near Mount Pisgah in a valley overlooking the desert north of the Dead Sea. Israel defeats King Sihon the Amorite. This is also told in Deuteronomy 2:26-37. The Israelites sent this message to King Sihon of the Amorites. Please let us pass through your territory. We promise to stay away from your fields and vineyards, and we won't drink any water from your wells. As long as we are in your land, we won't get off the main road. But Sihon refused to let Israel travel through his land. Instead, he called together his entire army and marched into the desert to attack Israel near the town of Jahaz. Israel defeated them and took over the Amorite territory from the gorge of the river, Arnon in the south to the gorge of the river Jabbok in the north. Beyond the Jabbok was the territory of the Ammonites, who were much stronger than Israel. The Israelites settled in the Amorite towns, including the capital city of Heshbon with its surrounding villages. King Sihon had ruled from Heshbon after defeating the Moabites and taking over their land north of the Arnon Gorge. That's why the Amorites had written this poem about Heshbon. Come and rebuild Heshbon, King Sihon's capital city. His armies marched out like fiery flames, burning down the town of Ar and destroying the hills along the river Arnon. The Moabites are done for. You, God, Chemosh, deserted your people. They were captured, taken away by King Sihon the Amorite. We completely defeated Moab. The towns of Heshbon and Dibon, of Nophah and Medeba are ruled and gone. After the Israelites had settled in the Amorite territory, Moses sent some men to explore the town of Zazer. Later, the Israelites captured the villages surrounding it and forced out the Amorites who lived there. Israel defeats King Og of Bashan. This is also told in Deuteronomy 3:1-11. The Israelites headed towards the region of Bashan, where King Og ruled, and he led his entire army to Edrei to meet Israel in battle. The Lord said to Moses, "Don't be afraid of Og. I will help you defeat him and his army, just as you did King Sihon, who ruled in Heshbon. Og's territory will be yours." So the Israelites wiped out Og, his family, and his entire army. There were no survivors. Then Israel took over the land of Bashan.